Hi, I'm Jay Faulkner. I'm an open source developer at G Research Open Source Software. I'm co-chair of the OpenStack Security SIG and a longtime contributor to Ironic and all sorts of other projects around OpenStack. I'm here to give you a little bit of a security alert. We recently had an issue. The CVE number's pending, but our internal number is OSSA-2025-022. And it involves the ability for someone to basically turn a capability URL returned by a Keystone API endpoint into a token, which can be a little bit nasty. So let's talk about what's going on here. I will note that all of the details here are published in our security advisory, which can be read at security.openstack.org/OSSA. Or we're also going to have that linked for you in the description down below. But let's go through and get a quick summary of what's happening. So even though this notes specifically that it impacts Keystone, this is a non-transparent patch. The solution to this is that we're having to add authentication to an endpoint which previously didn't have this type of authentication. So oftentimes when we release these advisories, you just merge the patch. Don't think about it, keep moving. This is when you've got to consider a little bit about your use case. So essentially you can use the V3 EC2 tokens or V3 S3 tokens APIs to get a capability URL similar to features that exist in AWS along those lines. What happens with this bug is that someone can take that capability URL, break it down into its component parts, and then use those to recreate a fully functional Keystone token. It's obviously a little bit scary. So a couple of things I want to point out here is that you'll note we have Keystone and Swift patches, and that's because some Swift functionality around S3 does get broken if you're not patching Swift as well to authenticate to this endpoint. So I know that a lot of users in the OpenStack ecosystem might not be using OpenStack Swift for object storage, but instead might be using Rados Gateway alongside of Ceph. Now, I'll note that's not an OpenStack project, so I can't speak definitively about it. But what I can tell you is that we've had multiple Ceph Rados Gateway users who have reported to us that is not affected nor needs patching, that it was already providing authentication to this endpoint. So essentially, let's summarize again for you. We've got OSSA-2025-022, which was just published. If you let people hit those endpoints, the EC2 tokens or the S3 tokens endpoint, and get a capability URL, or give those capabilities URLs out to others, they may be able to break that down and turn it into a Keystone token. That's not great. You're going to need to patch your Keystone. You're going to need to patch your Swift. Another thing that I'll note is that there are reports in the bug, which again, I'll make sure is linked in the description, or, it's linked from the OSSA as well. We do have reports from some OpenStack Heat users that depending on your use pattern for Heat, you may also need to patch that. And those patches are not yet public. So just make sure if you're not using the EC2 or S3 compatibility feature, and you can check logs and verify it, you can block those endpoints entirely as a workaround or apply these patches. If you do use those endpoints, just be very careful to make sure that everything you have using them is authenticating, and that you read this bug pretty thoroughly to understand the risks that can come along with these capability URLs. So again, I'm Jay Faulkner here on behalf of G Research Open Source Software. And thanks for listening. Hopefully you'll get yourself patched up. As always, thanks to them for letting me do these videos for you. G Research always has something interesting going on. If you're in London, UK, you're looking for a job, you're looking for an interesting event to go listen to a smart person speak, go to gresearch.com and have a look at what's available there. And while you're there, say thanks for content like this. So good night.